High above the blue planet Earth, the massive Archean research vessel hung silently in space. Inside the ship's main observation deck, Chief Science Officer Zex 427 stared at the holographic display with his four eyes, each blinking at different intervals. His gray, metallic-like skin reflected the soft blue glow from the numerous screens surrounding him. "Another primitive world," he muttered, his translator converting his clicking sounds into standard Archean speech. "How disappointing." The junior scientist, Vix 189, moved her tentacle-like appendages across the control panel, bringing up more detailed scans of the planet below. "Chief, we've been detecting their radio signals for the past 3 cycles. Shouldn't we at least consider making contact?" Zex 427 made a sound that could be interpreted as a laugh. "Have you seen their physical specifications?" He waved one of his upper limbs, bringing up a new display showing human biological data. "Look at these creatures. Soft skin, no natural armor, dull teeth, weak muscles compared to our standards. They can't even survive in most of their own planet's environments without artificial protection." The observation deck's door slid open with a soft hiss as Admiral Kroll entered. His massive frame, covered in ceremonial armor, dominated the room. All scientists immediately straightened their postures. "Give me your initial assessment, Chief Scientist," Kroll commanded, his voice deep and resonating. Zex 427 quickly compiled his notes on his datapad. "Admiral, we classify them as a Class 3 primitive civilization. They've barely managed to leave their own atmosphere. Their technology is crude. They still use fossil fuels and primitive nuclear fission. Their cities are exposed to the elements, showing no signs of proper planetary defense systems." The Admiral moved closer to the display, studying the images of human cities. "Any military capabilities we should be concerned about?" "Nothing significant, Admiral," Zex 427 replied confidently. "Their weapons are based on simple chemical propellants and basic explosives. Their most powerful weapons, while destructive, are nothing compared to our planetary defense systems." Vix 189 hesitated before speaking up. "Sir, if I may, there's something interesting in their communication patterns. They seem to have an unusually high amount of military-themed transmissions, and their entertainment shows unusual creativity in—" Junior Scientist, Zex 427 interrupted sharply. "Please stick to relevant scientific observations. Their entertainment choices are hardly important for our assessment." Admiral Kroll raised one of his armored appendages, silencing them both. "What do you recommend, Chief Scientist?" "Standard procedure for Class 3 civilizations, Admiral. We set up automated observation posts in orbit, hidden behind their primitive detection systems. We monitor them for the next 100 cycles or so, until they either advance enough for contact or destroy themselves, which is the more likely outcome given their violent history." The Admiral nodded slowly. "Very well. Set up the observation network. We'll maintain minimal presence in this sector." He turned to leave but paused at the door. "Oh, and Chief Scientist." "Yes, Admiral. Make sure those observation posts have good shields. Even primitive species can occasionally surprise us." After the Admiral left, Vix 189 returned to her scans. Something caught her attention. Strange readings from beneath the planet's surface. But before she could analyze them further, Zex 427 assigned her to help set up the observation network. As the Archean ship prepared to leave Earth's orbit, its crew remained unaware that deep beneath the planet's surface, in hardened bunkers and hidden facilities across the globe, humanity's real technological capabilities lay waiting. The Archeans' surface scans had missed the vast networks of underground military installations, research facilities, and emergency shelters, each a testament to humanity's paranoid preparation for any threat, terrestrial or otherwise. The humans, going about their daily lives, remained unaware of their alien observers. But their centuries of warfare, survival, and constant preparation for the worst were about to prove their worth. The Arxians' dismissal of humanity would soon prove to be their greatest miscalculation. 3 months after the Arxian ship left Earth's orbit, junior scientist VIX 189 sat alone in the monitoring station, studying data from the observation satellites. Her normal shift was over, but something in the readings bothered her. The surface scans showed exactly what they expected: cities, roads, and primitive power stations. But when she adjusted the deep scanning frequencies, strange patterns emerged. "This can't be right," she muttered to herself, her tentacles moving quickly across the control panel. The scanners were picking up massive structures deep underground, far larger than any subway system should be. The door slid open, and Chief Scientist ZEX 427 entered. "You're still here. Your shift ended 2 hours ago." "Chief, you need to see this," VIX 189 said, not taking her eyes off the screen. "I found something in the subsurface scans." ZEX 427 sighed but moved closer. "What is it now?" "More of your strange theories about human entertainment." "No, sir. Look at these readings." She brought up a 3D hologram of Earth, then zoomed in on North America. "These are bunkers, sir. Military installations. They're everywhere, hidden under their cities, mountains, and deserts." The chief's 4 eyes widened as he studied the data. "How did we miss this in our initial scans?" "They're using some kind of shielding technology we didn't expect them to have," VIX 189 explained. "And look at this." She switched to another location, this time under the Pacific Ocean. Underwater bases, dozens of them. Some are so deep our regular scans couldn't detect them. ZEX 427's gray skin turned a pale shade of blue, a sign of concern in his species. "Show me more." For the next hour, they discovered more hidden facilities: missile silos disguised as farmland, underground factories built into mountain ranges, and vast networks of tunnels connecting major cities. But what truly shocked them was the age of some installations. "These weren't built recently," VIX 189 said, checking the geological data. "Some of these bunkers are over 50 years old. They've been preparing for something." "Admiral Kroll needs to see this immediately," ZEX 427 said, his previous dismissive attitude completely gone. He pressed a button on his communication device. "Admiral, please come to the monitoring station. We have a situation." When Admiral Kroll arrived, the scientists showed him their findings. The Admiral's usual confident posture stiffened as he watched the holographic display. "They'd been preparing for war," Kroll said quietly. "Not just against themselves, but—" He paused, looking at the defensive patterns of the installations. "They've been preparing for us, or something like us." "But how could they know?" VIX 189 asked. "We haven't detected any previous contact with alien civilizations." "They didn't know," Kroll replied, his voice grim. "They just prepared, just in case." He turned to ZEX 427. "Chief Scientist, I want all available data on human military history. Now." As ZEX 427 pulled up the files, more disturbing facts emerged. Humans had fought countless wars against themselves, each time developing new technologies and strategies. They didn't just learn from their victories. They learned even more from their defeats. "Sir," VIX 189 said, her voice trembling slightly, "I'm detecting increased activity in several of these facilities. They might have noticed our observation satellites." Admiral Kroll straightened his armored frame. "Continue monitoring, but increase the stealth shielding on all observation posts." And he paused, looking at the holographic Earth rotating slowly in front of them. "Upgrade their classification. These humans are not the primitive species we thought they were." As the 3 Arxians studied the data pouring in from Earth, they began to realize that they had made a dangerous mistake. They had judged humanity by what they built on their planet's surface, never considering that the real strength of these primitive beings lay hidden beneath, waiting for the day they might need to defend their world. The Archean research station buzzed with activity as teams of analysts worked around the clock. Admiral Kroll had ordered a complete review of human history, and what they found left them stunned. In the main analysis chamber, massive screens displayed scenes from Earth's past, each more revealing than the last. "Put the 20th century timeline on the main display," ordered Chief Scientist Zex 427. The holographic screen lit up with images of 2 world wars, the Cold War, and countless smaller conflicts. VIX 189 stepped forward, her tentacles moving nervously as she presented her findings. "Sir, humans have faced multiple extinction-level events in their history. Look at this pattern." She brought up a new display showing various disasters: massive volcanic eruptions, ice ages, plagues, and near-miss asteroids. Every time they faced a crisis, they didn't just survive. They came back stronger. "Show me the plague data," Admiral Kroll commanded, entering the chamber. The screen shifted to show the history of human diseases. The Black Death killed nearly half their population in some regions, VIX 189 explained. "But look what happened afterward." She pointed to graphs showing technological and social advancement. They developed better medicine, improved sanitation, and created new social systems. Zex 427's 4 eyes blinked rapidly as he processed the information. The same pattern appears with every disaster. When their cities burned, they built them stronger. When diseases struck, they developed better health care. When nature threatened them, they created early warning systems. "But this is what truly concerns me," Admiral Kroll said, bringing up military development charts. "Look at their weapons advancement rate. From primitive gunpowder to nuclear weapons in less than 700 years. That's unprecedented," Zex 427 finished. "No other Class 3 civilization we've studied has evolved their military technology this fast." A junior analyst rushed into the chamber, their metallic skin flushed with excitement. "Sirs, we've decrypted more of their entertainment broadcasts. You need to see this." The screens filled with scenes from human movies and television shows, all showing humanity fighting against alien invasions. "They've been mentally preparing their population," VIX 189 said quietly. "Through their entertainment, they've been training their people to accept the possibility of extraterrestrial contact and conflict." Admiral Kroll moved closer to the screen, studying the scene from an alien invasion movie. "They've imagined every possible way we might attack them. And in their stories, they always find a way to win." "That's not all," the junior analyst added. "We found their military training scenarios. They have detailed response plans for everything: alien invasion, zombie outbreaks, robot uprisings, dimensional rifts, things even we haven't considered." Zex 427 pulled up the deep scan data again. "These bunkers we found, they're not just military bases. They're survival vaults, seed banks, cultural archives, genetic databases. They're prepared to rebuild their entire civilization from scratch if necessary." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. These humans, whom they had dismissed as primitive, had spent their entire history preparing for the worst while hoping for the best. "Admiral," VIX 189 said, breaking the silence, "I've been analyzing their response to previous threats. Every time they face a superior force, they don't just fight back. They adapt, improvise, and overcome. If they ever see us as a threat." Admiral Kroll nodded grimly. "Then we better make sure they never do." He turned to face his crew. "Continue monitoring, but with extreme caution, and prepare a full report for the High Council. They need to know what we're really dealing with here." As the Archeans continued their research, Earth's inhabitants went about their daily lives, unaware that their history of survival against all odds had just earned them the wary respect of one of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. In the dimly lit cultural analysis chamber of the Archean observation post, Senior cultural analyst Rick 783 stared at her screens with all four eyes wide in amazement. For the past week, she had been studying human entertainment, art, and literature. What she found made her metallic skin tingle with nervous energy. Director Zex 427. She called through the intercom. Please come to the cultural chamber immediately. There's something you need to see. When the chief scientist arrived with Admiral Kroll and VIX 189, Rick 783 had filled every screen in the room with different human movies, books, and TV shows. Look at these, she said, pointing to several science fiction movies. Humans have been imagining space travel for over 100 years. They've created thousands of stories about meeting aliens. That's not unusual, Zex 427 started to say, but Rick 783 cut him off. But look closer, she insisted, bringing up specific scenes. In their stories, humans almost always win. Not because they're stronger or have better technology, but because they think differently. They find solutions no one else would consider. Admiral Kroll stepped closer to the screens. Show me examples. Rick 783 played clips from various movies and TV shows. In this one, they defeat advanced aliens with a computer virus. In another, they use the aliens' own weapons against them. Here, they win by discovering a simple biological weakness. They've imagined every possible way to defeat a superior force. It's just entertainment, Zex 427 argued, but his voice lacked conviction. No, VIX 189 said suddenly, understanding dawning in her eyes. It's preparation, mental preparation. They're training their people to think about these scenarios, to believe they can win against any odds. Rick 783 nodded enthusiastically. Exactly. And it's not just their war stories. Look at their peaceful first contact scenarios. She showed clips from more optimistic science fiction. They hope for peace, but they always prepare for war. There's something else, she continued, bringing up human literature. Their stories often feature small, seemingly weak characters defeating powerful enemies. They call it the underdog story. It's deeply embedded in their culture. Admiral Kroll watched silently as more examples filled the screens. Humans fighting robots, monsters, natural disasters, and yes, aliens, always finding a way to win, no matter how hopeless the situation seemed. But this is the most interesting part, Rick 783 said, pulling up data from human space programs. They're actually building the things they imagine. Look at their space station designs. They match concepts from their science fiction from 50 years ago. Their military vehicles, their weapons, their communication devices, they imagine them first, then make them real. They're using their entertainment to drive innovation. VIX 189 realized. Every crazy idea in their stories becomes a blueprint for future technology. Admiral Kroll turned to face his team. So what you're saying is, they've been preparing for us their entire lives. Rick 783 finished. Not consciously, perhaps, but through their stories, their movies, their games. They've been getting ready for the day they might meet aliens, whether as friends or enemies. The room fell silent as they watched more scenes play across the screens. Humans meeting aliens peacefully, humans fighting aliens, humans outsmarting superior forces. Hundreds of different scenarios played out in their entertainment. Send all of this to the High Council, Admiral Kroll ordered finally. They need to understand that we're not just dealing with their military capabilities or their technology. We're dealing with a species that has spent generations imagining every possible way to interact with beings like us, and how to defeat us if necessary. As the Arctians left the cultural chamber, the screens continued playing human stories, each one a testament to humanity's endless creativity and determination. They had underestimated humans once. They wouldn't make that mistake again. Young Commander Yax 556 paced in his private quarters aboard the stealth observation ship. After 3 months of watching humans, His patience had run out. The more he learned about this species, the more he felt they were wasting time with all this careful observation. "They're still primitive compared to us," he muttered to himself, looking at Earth through his viewport. "One quick show of force, and they'll understand their place in the galaxy." Against direct orders from Admiral Kroll, Yax 556 had slowly moved his ship closer to Earth over the past week. Now he hovered just above the atmosphere, his ship's stealth systems barely hiding him from Earth's radar systems. "Commander," his second-in-command called through the intercom, "our sensors are detecting increased activity from Earth's military installations. Let them detect us," Yax 556 replied. "It's time we introduced ourselves." In the next moment, everything went wrong. First, Earth's supposedly primitive radar systems suddenly switched to new frequencies that cut straight through their stealth shielding. Then military bases across the planet lit up with activity. Missile silo doors opened, fighter jets scrambled, and military satellites changed position. "Sir," his sensor officer shouted, "they're tracking us. Multiple weapon systems are locking on." Before Yax 556 could respond, his ship's warning systems screamed to life. Dozens of missiles were already heading toward them, launched from submarines he hadn't even detected. "Impossible," he whispered. "They shouldn't have this capability." "Sir, we're also detecting energy readings from ground-based weapons we've never seen before." The sensor officer's voice shook with panic. "They're not in any of our databases." In military bases around Earth, humans moved with practiced efficiency. Years of drills and preparation were paying off. Within minutes, a coordinated global defense network had activated, exactly as they had practiced countless times. "Send a message to Admiral Kroll," Yax 556 ordered, as his ship took evasive action. "Tell him." A new alarm cut him off. 3 human space stations had suddenly revealed hidden weapon systems, and something was launching from a secret facility on Earth's moon, a facility that hadn't been there yesterday. "Sir, they're not just defending," his tactical officer reported. "They're executing a coordinated attack pattern. They're trying to force us into a specific position." In orbit, hidden human satellites activated, creating an energy net designed to trap alien vessels. On Earth, massive hidden arrays powered up, ready to direct concentrated energy bursts into space. "Full retreat," Yax 556 finally ordered, realizing his terrible mistake. "Get us out of here." As his ship fled Earth's orbit, pursued by human weapons he never knew existed, Yax 556 received a transmission. Not from his superiors, but from Earth. The message was short and clear, broadcast on frequencies the Arxians thought humans didn't know about. "This is Earth Defense Command. Your presence has been monitored since you entered our solar system. This was your only warning. Next time, we won't be so gentle." Back at the main Arxian observation post, Admiral Kroll received the reports with grim satisfaction. He had warned the young commander not to underestimate humans, but some lessons had to be learned the hard way. "Sir," VIX 189 said, analyzing the data from the incident, "the humans, they let him escape." "Of course they did," Admiral Kroll replied. "They wanted us to know what they're capable of, without starting an actual war." This wasn't just a defense demonstration, it was a message. As emergency meetings were called throughout the Arxian Empire, one thing became clear. Humanity wasn't just ready for alien contact. They had been ready for years, waiting patiently behind their mask of primitive technology and simple societies. The galaxy would never look at Earth the same way again. The grand chamber of the Arxian High Council glowed with soft blue light as 12 of the most powerful beings in the galaxy gathered for an emergency session. Massive holographic displays showed Earth from various angles, while smaller screens displayed data from the recent incident. Supreme Counselor 6001, her ancient metallic skin showing patterns of wisdom marks, called the session to order. Admiral Kroll stepped forward and explained how a simple observation mission has turned into our greatest diplomatic crisis in 3 centuries. Admiral Kroll stood in the center of the chamber, his armor polished but bearing scars from countless battles. Honorable Council, what I'm about to share will change our understanding of humanity forever. He gestured, and the main display showed Commander Yax 556's failed attempt to intimidate Earth. This incident revealed something extraordinary. The humans didn't just defend themselves, they had prepared specific countermeasures for our exact technology. Impossible. One council member interrupted. They couldn't have known about our stealth systems. They didn't, Kroll replied. They prepared for everything. Not just our technology, but every possible type of alien technology they could imagine. He brought up new images showing Earth's hidden defense network. These facilities were built to counter any possible threat, known or unknown. Chief Scientist Zex 427 stepped forward next to Kroll. The humans have a saying, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. They'd been practicing this philosophy for generations. The displays changed to show Earth's military installations, scientific facilities, and space defense networks. What we thought was primitive technology was just their public face. Behind it, they built something far more impressive, a global defense system that can adapt to any threat. But how did they hide all this? Another council member demanded. Vix 189, now promoted to senior scientist, spoke up from beside Kroll. They didn't hide it, exactly. They showed it to everyone, in their movies, their books, their games. We just thought it was all imagination. We never realized they were actually building these things in secret. The council chamber erupted in concerned murmurs. Supreme Counselor 6001 raised her hand for silence. What are they doing now, after the incident? Nothing, Admiral Kroll replied. They continue their daily lives as if nothing happened. But they sent us a clear message. They know we're watching, they know who we are, and they're ready for anything we might do. Are they a threat to the Empire? The question came from the military council representative. No, Kroll answered firmly. They're not aggressive. They're protective. They don't want to conquer. They want to survive. And they've become exceptionally good at it. Chief Scientist Zex 427 added, their history shows this clearly. They fight fiercely when threatened, but they prefer peace when possible. They're capable of both great violence and great compassion. Supreme Counselor 6001 stood, her ancient frame commanding immediate attention. What do you recommend, Admiral? We have 3 options, Kroll replied. First, we could try to subjugate them, but the cost would be devastating on both sides. Second, we could ignore them, but they're advancing too quickly for that to be safe. Or third, he paused, looking at each council member, we could acknowledge them as equals and open diplomatic relations. The chamber fell silent as the council considered these options. Finally, Supreme Counselor 6001 spoke again. Show us the projected growth of human technology over the next century. The displays change, showing graphs and predictions. The council members watched in stunned silence as the lines showed human advancement accelerating at an unprecedented rate. They'll reach our level of technology within 50 years, Zex 427 explained. But they'll do it their way, with innovations we never considered possible. The Supreme Counselor nodded slowly. Then we have no choice. Prepare a diplomatic mission. It's time we met humanity properly, as equals. As the council session ended, the screen showed Earth rotating peacefully in space, no longer looking like a primitive world, but like something far more interesting, a planet of survivors, innovators, and warriors who had earned their place among the stars. The morning sun rose over New York City, just like any other day. People hurried to work, children went to school, and life continued as usual. But today would be different. Today, everything would change. At exactly 9 o'clock a.m., every television, radio, phone, and computer screen on Earth received the same message. People of Earth, you are not alone. In the United Nations building, world leaders had already gathered. They had known this day was coming. The hidden defense networks had detected the approaching Arxian diplomatic fleet 3 days ago. But this time, the aliens came openly, broadcasting their presence for all to see. High above Earth's atmosphere, Admiral Kroll stood on the bridge of his flagship. But unlike his previous visits, his ship's stealth systems were disabled. 3 massive Arxian vessels hung visible in the sky, their silver hulls gleaming in the sunlight. They're responding to our message, his communications officer reported. All major Earth governments are broadcasting welcome signals. Kroll nodded. Begin the descent, and show me the human crowd reactions. The screens filled with images from cities around the world. People stood in streets, parks, and rooftops, looking up at the alien ships with a mix of awe and determination. But there was no panic, no chaos. Humanity had rehearsed this moment countless times in their minds. In the White House Situation Room, the U.S. President sat with his military advisors. Defense systems, all operating perfectly, Mr. President, General Martinez replied, but holding fire as agreed. The aliens are following the approach pattern we specified. Similar scenes played out in Moscow, Beijing, London, and every major capital. Humanity presented a united front, just as they had practiced in countless drills and simulations. The Arxian diplomatic vessel landed precisely where humans had designated, in Central Park, New York. A large area had been cleared, and a welcoming committee waited. Military units stood ready but not threatening, their weapons pointed down. As the ship's doors opened, Admiral Kroll led the Arxian delegation. Behind him walked Supreme Counselor 6001 herself, the first time in Arxian history that their highest leader had visited a newly contacted species. The UN Secretary-General stepped forward to meet them. "Welcome to Earth," she said simply, offering a small bow. 6001 returned the gesture. "We come in peace, though we know you are prepared for otherwise." The Secretary-General smiled. "We prefer peace, but yes, we are prepared for any possibility. It's what has kept us alive through our long history." As cameras broadcast the scene worldwide, humans and Arxians began their first official dialogue. But something unexpected happened during the meetings. The Arxians found themselves constantly surprised by human responses to their proposals. "You're offering us membership in the Galactic Alliance," the Chinese premier asked during one session. "What about partnership instead? We have our own ways of doing things." The Arxians were stunned. No species had ever negotiated terms of first contact before. But humans, as always, thought differently. By day's end, a historic agreement was reached. Earth would not simply join the galactic community. It would help reshape it. Humans would share their unique perspectives, their creativity, their different way of solving problems. As Admiral Kroll prepared to return to his ship that evening, he looked back at the New York skyline. "You know," he said to VIX 189, who now served as Earth Relations Specialist, "we came here thinking we would teach them about the galaxy." "And instead?" she asked. "Instead, I think they're going to teach us a few things." He watched as humans and Arxians mingled freely in the diplomatic reception. "They've shown us that being prepared for war doesn't mean you can't hope for peace. That strength isn't just about technology or weapons. It's about determination, creativity, and the will to survive." As night fell over Earth, humans celebrated their first official contact with alien life. But in homes and bunkers and secret facilities around the world, they kept their defenses ready. Because that's what humans do. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst, and face whatever comes next with both creativity and courage. The species that the Arxians had once dismissed as weak had proven to be something far more interesting. They had proven to be human.